So we're at Dornoland and we've got all the 2018 250Fs. Today's going to be a good day. It should be very interesting. Bike that produces good power from the get-go, and that's normally what wins this class. So all the bikes have been noise tested, they've been weighed and they've been dynoed, and then a lot of riders have been out on track and put them through their paces. Husky and KTM, you know how they come out of the crate, they're a powerhouse machine. How fast they go always surprises me for the CC that they are, which is something that people can relate to because they don't want to be spending lots of money on a bike that they have to make go fast. They haven't changed their bike too much this year, but we all know that there's a new bike coming in 2019. The general feel is that KTM and Husqvarna have got this class, and it's not just down to horsepower, they also like the way that the bike feels and the way that the bike handles. Once again, KTM and Husqvarna, yep, they're produced from the same factory, you know, so the bikes are pretty much the same. The airbox does offer a little bit of a different feel in the Husky. It puts you a little bit more towards the back end of the bike as it's a little bit lower at the rear end. The Husky sits you a little bit more forward and plants you a little bit more into the centre of the bike. Out on track, you're not feeling any difference between the horsepower output, that's for certain. But what you are feeling is that your body position's slightly different. When you come into turns, they're planted and they roll the turns. You can hold a gear, you rev the bike. Some of the jumps coming out of the turns, you could really stretch your gear and you can really feel that extra horsepower. Also that torque as well, which just allows third gear just to be in play in some of the tighter turns, and then you can really let the torque do the work. And it always surprises me how much these bikes do rev and keep pulling. These two, they've won the class because they manoeuvre. They're a bike that you can purchase that you're not going to spend loads of money on. Now what was interesting this year was that Honda come out with a new bike. So they basically revised their 2017 model. They come with a new frame, new engine design, twin exhaust, different position for the shock, different swinging arm. They also went and put the spring forks in the bike this year as well. People liked the new Honda. They liked it over their old Honda. Now, compared to the other bikes, it's getting there, but unfortunately it's just lacking something, and that's from bottom to mid. Just picking it up through the rev range, it's just a little bit difficult. Once you've got it singing, which this bike loves to be revved, and it loves to be ridden hard, then there's no problem. And what it does offer is, it's all the Honda traits. It's got the 450 chassis, so basically you can scrub at ease, and when you come into the turns, it's planted. It does feel like a Japanese bike. So Honda have gone to work and they've produced a bike which is much better than their previous models. The bike's got an electric start and the twin cam. The bike's designed to rev, so you rev it up a high end and it's making good horsepower. You can see that in the dyno curves. But what it doesn't show out on track is its rideability. You just feel like you can choose your lines at will. Coming into the jumps, it's just so movable, and it's down to the mass centralisation. The bike just seems to be able to grab at will. But one thing that the Honda does lack is bottom to mid-range. So as soon as you come out of that desired area where the bike is really making its power, it takes a little while to pick back up again, which is an issue really, because then you find yourself working the gearbox a little bit more than what you should do. But once you ride that bike up at the top end, it's good. It's still down on the Husky and still down on the KTM, but I've tried some different ECU map settings, and I can tell you that you can polish out that lag and basically give it a little bit more punch and a little bit more torque. And I'm sure with an aftermarket exhaust, then you're going to have a bike that's going to be competitive. Honda pride themselves on building a bike for the majority, and I think they have succeeded in doing that. Honda have produced a bike which I'm sure in 2019 is going to have all those little issues all polished out and refined, and we're really going to see Honda coming out swinging in 2019. The big surprise for me riding the 250Fs was the Kawasaki. Kawasaki came out with a whole new bike in 2017 and I was lucky enough to go to Zaka Station in America and test the bike. I really rated the bike then, and it did need refining a little bit, but I felt that it was better than the previous models. You could really see the direction that Kawasaki were trying to take their bike in. Now in 2018, this bike was a shock, and the first thing that impressed me was how much torque that the bike had, and just the little refinements which really benefited the ride. Not just for me, but most people that rode the Kawasaki were slightly surprised in how good the bike was. I like the way that it rode, you know, the way that you just sat on the bike. I've got to say as well that all the bikes I didn't adjust the clicker, didn't adjust the suspension, because I didn't feel that I needed to. I just wanted a fair comparison to how they were and just rode them. And the Kawasaki, I just felt so at home and so comfortable on it, and you could really feel the torque and the drive coming out of the turns. The bike revved in 17 and the bike's revving now in 18 as well. It does lack a little bit of horsepower over the KTM and the Husqvarna, but it's not night and day difference, and that's because of the torque and the way that it's delivered to the ground. It just felt good. It was one of those bikes where I was like, man, this bike's improved. Yamaha have come out with a good bike the last couple of years, and to be honest, the bike's still really fresh and still rides really good. The connection that bike offers out on track's really good. It handles really nice. It's got spring forks. It's relatively competitive straight out the box, and it's quite easy to maintain. So it's a win-win for Yamaha. The bike from standard produces good horsepower, but not only that, it's got a good connection and it's got a good on-track feel. The bike's quite easy to manoeuvre. It hasn't had that many modifications this year, but it hasn't need to. But I'm sure that you're going to see the new 450 frame placed on the 2019 model, that's for certain. And then it's going to be a bit of a game changer again. But we'll see if it produces any more power at that stage as well. So I still rate the Yamaha, but I just feel that it needs an electric start on it and it needs that new frame. Suzuki, unfortunately, the bike's just getting left behind. The bike's still fun to ride and it still turns good and it has all the Suzuki traits, but unfortunately that bike needs to be seen to and needs to change. All the bikes have been dynoed, but it's worth mentioning with the Suzuki, maybe why it was a little bit down on power is the fact that it had a lot more hours on it than the other bikes it was up against. We know from previous tests the Suzuki makes a little bit more horsepower than shown, but there's no getting away from the fact that it is down on power against its competitors in that class. There's so many people that still do love the Suzuki, and I love the Suzuki, you know, because it still has all them traits of where you can turn, it's hassle-free, but it is beginning to feel a little bit dated and a little bit old. And it's a shame really, because that bike really does need an overhaul for 2019. If you're a serious racer and you're knocking on the door to have a team ride and you're working to a budget, then you're going to pick a Husqvarna or a KTM because you know that you can put a pipe on the bike, do some small changes, and you're going to have a bike which is really competitive and that you can race at a high level. And that's why they're always class winners. You know, not everybody's as serious as that. You know, they want bikes which is a hassle-free, where they don't have to check the fork pressure by a pump. And that's where the Yamaha and the Kawasaki and the Honda really now they've come into their own. And let's be honest, there's more hobby riders and club racers than there is professional wannabes. That's where I feel that the Honda will come into its own, and I can't stress enough how good the Kawasaki is. The only issue with that is sometimes its build quality is questioned a little bit at times. The Yamaha has proven straight out of the box, but it doesn't have an electric start, which unfortunately it needs in this field now. So as for the overall winner, we're going to say it's equal between the Husky and the KTM. Yes, there is some slight differences between the bikes, but there's not enough to divide them between each other and not make them a group winner, I feel.